in the TV writer's room thought I could possibly understand the book we were adapting. They didn't know I wrote it. When I found out the dystopian novel I wrote under a pen name at 24 was going to be a TV show, I thought it was the best news of my life. But then the network head told me something even better. He wanted me to join the writer's room to help create the show. He said they needed fresh perspectives and my background would bring valuable insights. He never mentioned to the other writers that I was actually the author, and I figured I'd let my work speak for itself rather than walking in announcing my identity. The showrunner welcomed me on my first day with barely concealed annoyance. "So you're the network's diversity hire," he said. The other 5 writers, all men over 40, sized me up like I'd stolen something from them. "I'm looking forward to working with everyone," I said, settling into my seat. "I have some thoughts about the Underground Railroad themes that could translate powerfully." "Thoughts?" interrupted the head writer. "That's adorable. I've been analyzing literature since before you were born. This book requires maturity to grasp. The network forced you on us, but that doesn't mean you understand the material." The showrunner pulled up his presentation. "The author is clearly writing from middle-aged disillusionment. The protagonist is obviously the author himself, a brilliant man trapped by society's expectations. I interpreted the protagonist as a stand-in for," I started, knowing exactly what I'd intended when writing him. "That's exactly the surface-level interpretation I expected from a diversity hire. This is prestige television. Just because the network forced you on us doesn't mean we use your ideas." I thought about correcting them then, but their naked hostility made me swallow the words. Maybe if I earned their respect first, the revelation would go smoother. Over the next weeks, every idea I pitched got shot down with increasing condescension. When I suggested the love interest should be black like I'd written her, the showrunner laughed so hard he spilled coffee. "Where'd you get that idea? Because she has curly hair? The author describes her as golden in the lamplight. Obviously she's white. This is why networks shouldn't interfere with creative teams." I said, "But chapter 12 mentions her dealing with assumptions based on appearance," and he cut me off. "You're reading too much into it because you want to see yourself in everything. Stop forcing diversity where it doesn't exist." When I pitched exploring the Underground Railroad imagery I'd carefully woven throughout, the head writer actually patted my head. "Sweet that you think this was about racism. The tunnels are clearly metaphors for the internet. You'd understand if you'd studied real literature instead of whatever quotas got you here." When I said, "There are Frederick Douglass quotes embedded," he interrupted me with, "Anyone can find coincidences. This author is too sophisticated for your obvious parallels. The network may force us to have you here, but we don't have to pretend your ideas have merit." During character discussions, they'd constantly correct my interpretations of my own work. When I explained Sarah's anger came from generational trauma, the showrunner rolled his eyes dramatically. "Not everything is trauma and identity politics. What is it with you people and bringing race into everything? The author understands human nature a lot better than you do." One day I heard them talking about me at the water cooler, saying how stupid I was for not understanding that white male characters were universal, and I was being desperate by wanting to see people who wanted to look like me on the screen. "People like her make everything about what color they are," my boss said with an eye roll. "They're the real racists." Week after week, they explained my metaphors incorrectly, told me I was everything wrong with forced diversity in writers' rooms, and made jokes about babysitting me. "You probably think the author is a woman," someone laughed, "or black. Just because they understand oppression doesn't mean they're not a white man, you know? You just want to demonize white people." "I didn't say that," I said carefully. "All I said was the author could be anyone, even a young black woman." "A young black woman?" They erupted laughing. "Writing this level of prose? The network really found someone delusional. I thought she was just here for racial diversity," my boss said. "But maybe she's our psychotic representation as well." But that moment, right when I was at my breaking point, the studio head walked in beaming. Everyone jumped up, straightening their clothes and trying to look impressive. He said, "Sorry to barge in. Wanted to check how the author of our book is settling in." When she agreed to join personally, I couldn't believe our luck. He looked straight at me. "Hope these gentlemen have been receptive to your vision for your own book. How has your first month been?" My boss dropped his coffee mug. The silence was deafening as 6 men who'd spent 4 weeks insulting me realized who I was, and that the next words out of my mouth could end their careers forever. Full story on the channel below.